Hello, my name is Jenna Hughes and I chose to participate in the Teach and Train event. I chose this event because I'm in a family and consumer science course at my high school, in which I plan lessons for our preschool. I really enjoy doing that, so I thought it would look more in-depth at a preschool teacher's job. This is insight into a preschool teacher's career. Here's my evidence of online project summary and my planning process. For my planning process, I had two main concerns, one of which was COVID and the regulations, and the other one was connecting with unfamiliar kids, just because I didn't know if I would be able to make that connection. I had three goals for my project, which was to understand the responsibilities and duties of a preschool teacher, to connect with other kids, and learn about the flow and inner workings of a child care facility. For my plan, it was just a matter of finding a preschool, communicating, doing my project, taking notes, and putting it into my PowerPoint. And that's exactly what I did. I chose to do the YMCA daycare in Darke County, Ohio. I filled out the volunteer application. I did all of my activities, I took notes, and I put it in my PowerPoint. For my follow-up, I realized that one of my activities really only focused on 3 out of the 8 colors in which I was trying to teach the children, and I wish it would have focused on the other 5 more. I also wish I would have done this during a non-COVID time, however, I was glad I got the chance to do it. Here's my table of contents, and then my career exploration summary. So in order to be a preschool teacher, it varies from facility to facility, your educational requirements. You can have a high school degree, while some require a college education. But you must be up to date on your communicable disease training, first aid, and child abuse. Below you see a sample job description from the place in which I did my activities. The first paragraph basically just states the day-to-day life, and then the bullet points below state all the responsibilities you would have. I think there are 7 main qualities that a teacher must have, which are communication, creativity, organization, empathy, patience, being physically fit, just because preschoolers are always go, 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 and of course being easygoing, because if you're not, your lesson plan just won't go as planned. I also think it's important to look at the overall outlook. As time goes on, we will be needing more preschool and daycare facilities, which then in turn mean more preschool teachers and daycare workers. When it comes to mentorship, I believe anyone would be great, just because young children are so vastly different in their personalities that one person could have one perspective and another person could have another perspective, and it would just be great to get both sides of the story. When you are hired in, you are typically hired in as an assistant preschool teacher. However, as you progress, you can become a lead or co-teacher and eventually a child care director if the opportunity presents itself. Next is my self-assessment document. I am personally interested in education just because I love being able to express my creative side and connect with children. That's my absolute favorite part about this whole thing. And I'm interested in preschool just because it's consistent while also being so versatile. One day can be completely different from the next day, but it's the same hours day in and day out. Qualities that would make me good for this is just that I love being creative, and like I said earlier, creating that relationship with preschoolers is something I absolutely love. And then of course my other aspects would be my passion for the career. I just absolutely love working at my CT program and being able to bridge that connections with the kids there. Next is my job shadowing experience. So I chose to shadow Juanita Thompson for approximately 3.5 hours on December 31st. I chose her because she's one of the 2 teachers in the pre-K room at the YMCA. I got to see parts of breakfast, morning meeting, free play, large motor activity, and lunch. I managed to observe things such as room management techniques, such as all the different objects she had in the room to include everyone. I got to see parts of what the YMCA teaches, such as alphabet, numbers, shapes, colors, and so on. I also got to see how Juanita managed and controlled her lessons. I also got to see what thought she put into planning her lessons. For instance, her lesson plan was on the board, so you knew she thought through her lessons. And then of course I talked with her personally. I got the mission statement of the YMCA. I learned that the YMCA uses the creative curriculum as the base block for their lesson plans. And of course then I talked personally with Juanita. She talked to me about training at the YMCA. So the YMCA employees are required to have 25 hours of training on okra.com. That's just the website they use. And they must be up to date on their 3 trainings mentioned earlier. Then we talked about how Juanita personally got into teaching, how she hasn't been a teacher for a terribly long time, but still manages to be motivated. And then she gave me some advice. Her advice for me was to be positive. She said kids are extremely impressionable, and if you're positive, they're positive. If you're negative, they're negative. She also talked to me about ways in which she presented her lesson to the kids, and she also talked to me about the resources she uses. And she also talked to me how she includes every student. So she talked about how she includes those with cultural differences, and she does this by having toys that include people such as unique dress-up clothing and books that talk about holidays we might not celebrate typically. And then of course she said that she presents her lesson in many different ways for all those that are visual, auditory, and tactile learners. I also noticed that the classroom in general was just very engaging to walk into and made me excited to be in there, and I'm sure the kids were very excited to be there. Next is my workshop and plan. So unfortunately, due to COVID-19, there were only 3 students enrolled in the YMCA. However, I did get to create a one-on-one connection with these students, but I did not get the big teacher quality of addressing the group, but I was just glad I got to do the project and connect with those 3 students. I chose to teach color recognition just because I feel it's very important for young kids. The 8 colors I decided to do were teal, magenta, blue, green, purple, pink, brown, and yellow. I understand that teal and magenta may not be colors that most preschoolers know. However, that was my goal of the project, was for them to be able to identify one out of those 2 colors. Here are the 3 children which I worked with. My first activity is I decided to read the book Pete the Cat, I Love My White Shoes. This was just a great book because it talked about colors, and the kids absolutely loved Pete the Cat books. If you are unfamiliar with the book, here's a link in which you can see what the book is. And then here are pictures of me doing it with the kids. For my second activity, I decided to print out Pete the Cat figures with white shoes on, and then I had 4 bowls of different things. One had water, one had pudding, and then the other 2 had whipped cream. One was dyed teal and one was dyed magenta. The kids got to dip the Pete the Cat figurine in these different substances and experiment with what colors would be on Pete's shoes. And then they got to wash it off with water and do it all over again. This is the activity in which I said I would have had more colors, so I wish I would have had another bowl with whipped cream that was dyed one of the other colors I was trying to teach. Nonetheless, the kids still really enjoyed the activity, and it ended up being more educational than I originally thought. By the end of the activity, as you may be able to see here, we were having different colors. So we had gray, and we even had black at one point. The third activity I decided to do was a color scavenger hunt. Basically, I had the kids sit down at a table, call them up one by one, spun them around a few times, and then asked them to find a colored object for me in a room. I would say, child 1, go find me a yellow item, and then I give them 10 seconds to find that object. Here's the timer in which I used, and then pictures of me doing it with the kids. The kids actually really enjoyed this activity. In fact, before I left, we even did it for a second time. Here are my pre and post assessments. As you can see, childs 1 through 3 knew pink, blue, brown, green, purple, and yellow. However, none of them knew teal or magenta. Child 1 and child 2, by the end of my activities, knew both teal and magenta. Child 3, however, only knew magenta, not teal. But that child was able to identify that pink and purple mixed together make magenta, and that blue and green together mixed together make teal. Here are the resources in which I used, the book in which I read, the website in which I got this presentation template, and one important thing to note is that all of these activities were activities that I created for this project specifically. Technology was extremely helpful, especially during this time of COVID. It allowed me to brainstorm, research preschoolers, and communicate with them, and then create this PowerPoint for you. Here are my works cited, and this concludes my FCCLA PowerPoint presentation. One thing I learned by doing this was how to adapt to different environments to teach kids a lesson. This helped me to showcase my skills and build on my self-confidence. Thank you for watching my presentation, and have a good day.